Welcome back to my channel. So this vlog, I got some stuff written down. I was trying to come up with some really good videos for you guys, and I thought that I would go off of a personal experience that I went through. So this is going to be about getting married in prison. I know, it's like what every girl dreams of doing, right? um, I was always the type, like, I never wanted a big wedding. I never fantasized about having this, large wedding and having all of, my friends and family there and like wearing a big white dress and walking down the aisle and like the whole shebang. Like, I just personally like never envisioned that when I thought about getting married. And I was always the type that I never, like, I lived out my, teens and my 20s, and like I never really thought that I would get married young. I always kind of knew that I would get married like later on in life. But yeah, so this is going to be about like how I got married and like what my experience was, and maybe your experience is similar to this, or maybe it's like exactly the same, or maybe it's like total opposite of what you want. But hopefully you guys enjoy this video. So I already talked about like how I met my husband, and that I already talked about how we got married 6 months after we met, or we started talking. But specifically, how we got married went like this, and this is going to be really similar in like all states around the US. So when you want to get married while they're incarcerated in prison, they are going to first go to their counselor, and they'll ask their counselor for a marriage packet. Or if they just say, hey, I want to get married, can you give me the paperwork? That should be like good enough. So I remember my husband asked for this marriage packet, and then once he got it, he mailed it to me. And I got this packet, and I am like not joking, you guys. Like, it was probably like close to like this thick. I mean, it was like a lot of paperwork involved in it. And there's going to be paperwork in there that, like, it'll just be basic stuff like your name, birthday, yada, yada, yada. It's going to like have information on his crime. So I think that was one of the first things that they had him do, was like they sent him information on like what his crime was, and like I had to like sign it, like read it, and then like sign that like I agreed and like I knew what he was in there for. And I guess like they just want to make sure that everybody's informed. So I remember like filling that out. I also remember like I had to write a statement, and this is super weird, but I had to write a statement and tell the prison why I wanted to get, like, what my intentions were. And I totally like took a piece of paper. I wrote like, I want to get married because I love my husband, or I love my boyfriend. It was like 2 lines, and like I mailed it back to the prison, and like that was all they needed. I don't know why they, like, what they do, like why they want that information, but yeah, it was like super quick and easy, and like I was done with. But so yeah, so that, also, you have to go get, obviously, like the marriage license. You have to, you didn't have to have a background check done or anything like that. But you have to have, like, where we were at, we had to do counseling. And like some prisons, they actually have you do physical, like you have to like show up at to visiting like with a counselor, and then like all together, the 3 of you like go through a counseling session. But like for us, it was super easy. Like the counselor called me and talked to me for like 15 or 20 minutes. She asked me, why I wanted to get married. She told me, like when he gets out, it's going to be hard for him financially for a little while until he finds a job. And she talked to me for about 15 minutes. She was super cool. She wasn't judgmental at all. And then he actually had gone to his counselor's office, and they called the counselor from the office, the marriage counselor from the office. And then like she asked him like the same questions. So that was like super easy for us. And then you also have to find a officiant, so somebody to marry you. So I'm pretty sure like every prison, like obviously they'll allow like whatever faith you are. Like ours was like non-denominational, like because we're not religious at all. So the woman that did the counseling, she actually married us as well, and we could choose like which like sort of vows we wanted, because we didn't write our own vows, but you know, she had different like genres, if you will. And so ours was just like non-religious, but it was like, you know, spiritual. So it was really cool. I liked that, you know, she had that option, but like, it was cool for us because we paid for both of those together. So instead of paying separately for counseling and for somebody to marry us, we paid separate, or we paid it for it all at once. So I think it was a little bit cheaper. Of course you have to like get rings, and you have to be careful with the prison because, so I bought this ring. I don't know if you guys can see it. I bought that ring. It's like super basic, like cobalt. There's like no writing on it. There's like no stones at all. Like it is like as basic as it freaking gets. And I had gone through like DOC rules, and it said it had to be like under so much money. I think it was like under $150, and no stones or anything like that. So I got that, and like, so I brought that when we got married. But I also was stupid, totally stupid. And I did not listen to certain people that said that I had to order his ring off of a specific catalog through the prison. And so when we got married, there was like this huge thing, like huge ordeal. And like, we're in the, like the midst of like the ceremony where like we're exchanging rings, right? So I go to put like this ring on his finger, and there was a correctional officer in the room, and he was like towards the back of the room, and he interrupts us and he says, "Ma'am, if you proceed to put that ring on his finger, I'm going to have to confiscate it as contraband." And like, I looked at him, like I actually brought the paperwork from DOC. Like I said, like, look, it says this, this, and this, and this. And he's like, I don't care what it says. Like, if you put that ring on his finger, I'm going to have to, I'm going to confiscate it. It's contraband. Like, old man, like in his 70s, like would have disagreed with whatever we had to say. So even though I had the proof there and everything, like he still wouldn't let me put it on his finger. It was like, everybody was pissed for like a good minute. Until we're like, I think my mother-in-law and my mom were like, okay, you know, guys, let's just get past this, you know, let's just continue on. And so like, he put my ring on my finger, and I didn't have a ring for him, obviously. And like, we continued on, and we got married, and like, you know, they let us talk and stuff afterwards. But yeah, like that was the one thing, like out of the whole thing, like I wish I would have done. I wish I would have like been smart and like brought that backup ring, you know, and did like a little more research. And I guess I wish I would have thought, you know, worst case scenario instead of like the best case scenario. So that was the only downfall to getting married in prison. But pretty much like when you go into your wedding, like they'll give you a date, and ours was on a visiting day, but it was earlier in the day. So nobody was in there, but we got married in the visiting room. So we show up and we check in, and like show up with the counselor, and like our family, like they let us have, he was allowed to invite one inmate who was his best friend since childhood. And then we could invite, let's see, 2, 4, 5, 6 people. So it was my mom, it was my mother-in-law and her husband, my father-in-law and his wife, and then my husband's cousin. So there were 6 people, and then one other inmate besides my husband. And they're allowed to be there like during the ceremony. After the ceremony is over, the other inmate who they were allowed to invite, they did have to like go back. They had to leave, so they couldn't stay for the whole thing. But it was really cool. Like they were involved in pictures and stuff like that. So also another really cool thing is, and I know some prisons do it, but not all. I did talk to the, what is his name? The chaplain at the prison, and we were allowed to bring in clothes for my husband. So like, I brought like a button up, you know, collared shirt, and he had black slacks and like nice dress shoes. And they wouldn't let me bring in a tie for him. It was super weird, but they would let me bring in a belt. But I mean, he still looked really nice, for our wedding. So that was cool. I just had to make sure everything was verified through the chaplain. So we got to bring in an outfit for him. Let's see what else. So when we show up, we go into the visiting room, and we weren't there by ourselves with the counselor or the person that married us. They had one CO, that was a correctional officer, that was in the visiting room with us, and that correctional officer was in charge of taking pictures. So it was kind of weird because it was this old man, and like he was like kind of trying to direct us on like how to do these different poses. So it was an interesting scenario. But yeah, it was definitely interesting. Other than that, I would have to say it was an all right experience. We got about, I would say maybe 30 to 45 minutes to kind of talk before the ceremony started. And then after it was over, we got another maybe 30 minutes or so to, talk and take pictures and do all of that afterwards. Once that 30-45 minutes was over, they actually made us leave the visiting room because regular visiting was going to start. And then they allowed us we just had to like recheck in to visiting. And then we were able to stay the remainder of the day and, hang out. Our visiting there, I think, was like about 6 or 7 hours. So it was a good amount of time. Like by the end of visiting, we were all really tired because it'd been a really long day. But I want to say, it depends on like what you spend on rings and, clothing and stuff like that. But for the counseling and for the officiant, like to hire the person to marry us, and for the marriage license, and then I got like the certified copies of the license, I want to say it was probably like around $500, like maybe $500 or $600, somewhere around there. It was more like with clothes and, rings and stuff added on to that. But I would just see like that's the very basic aspect of it. I would compare it it's really similar to like a courthouse wedding. I know in a courthouse wedding, like you have a judge that marries you, and it's like you can bring in people to like witness it and all of that. So it's probably similar to something like that. It's not the most horrible experience that you'll go through. I thought it was going to be really bad, and it was like, besides the fact that he wouldn't let me put the ring on his finger, everything else was pretty cool. So it was a good experience. We got married almost 2.5 years ago. So it's been a little while since then. Still like best day of my life. I wouldn't take it back. We're planning, like when he gets out, we're going to go somewhere abroad and renew our vows. So by that time, we'll probably have been married for quite a while. So that'll be definitely a fun experience, and we'll actually have to, we'll be able to I'll be able to wear a dress, or we'll be able to like renew our vows on the beach and like do something fun like that. So that'll be cool. Another thing really quick, as far as pictures, I brought in a SIM card, and they had a nice camera where they could put the SIM card into the camera. And so I just went home with all the pictures that were on there, and we got like about, I don't know, 70 pictures or so. Like it was quite a few pictures that we were able to get. So I have those. It was pretty basic. I guess there's not a lot to talk about when it comes to like getting married in prison. It wasn't horrible and it wasn't great. It was what it was. And, you can't really like sum it up to like too much more than that. Just make sure you ask his counselor for the paperwork. If you have any questions, like get on them as soon as possible, because they like to like draw everything out a lot longer than it should be. I stalked the chaplain, like literally stalked the chaplain. No, I just like called and emailed like constantly, making sure that like everybody was signing it that needed to sign it. And my husband, he really did stalk his counselor. Like he was outside of the counselor's door like every day, making sure that like he was proceeding with like that paperwork and making sure that it got to the associate superintendent, that it got signed off, and that everything like was going through. So, and that's why it took us only 3 months from the time we started the paperwork until we got married. But that's because like we're super persistent people. So anyhow, if you guys, we're at like almost 15 minutes. I don't want to keep it too long and keep you guys bored with all of this. But if you have any questions specifically about getting married in prison, definitely message me below, leave some comments. please subscribe to this channel. I am going to be changing the name of it. Right now it's under my name, but we're going to be changing the name of it to Secret Life of a Prison Wife, which is also the name of the group that I admin on Facebook. So, like I stated in my last vlog, there's going to be some new changes. We're going to revamp this a little bit. And so it's definitely going to be geared towards prison wives. And we're going to be putting out videos on a regular basis. I'm going to be collaborating with my friend Elle. And we're going to try and do, like have both of us, even though she's in the UK, she's in England, but we're going to have both of us on the vlogs at the same time so we can do some Q&As and like answer some questions that you guys might have. She's obviously gone through some different stuff than I've gone through, and I've gone through different stuff than she's gone through. So I think it'd be really cool to get both of us on here so we can answer questions for you guys. But anyhow, like I said, please subscribe. Please share this vlog, my channel, so we can get it out there. You know, I know there's so many different people that are involved in the prison wife community, whether, you know, you're a girlfriend, a fiance, a boyfriend, a fiance, a husband, a wife, whatever, you know, there's thousands of people, you know, going through this situation. And I know it definitely makes it easier when you have answers to questions. I know when I first started, I was going on forums. I didn't even know about like Facebook groups, and there's nothing on YouTube. So I remember going on a forum called Prison Talk, and it's super old school. Like, it's been around forever. And there were like people in this forum that were posting from like 2 or 3 years before. And I was like trying to reach out to them to find out information on visiting and stuff like that. And it was just really impossible to find out answers. I kind of had to go through everything myself. So that's why it is really important to like get everything out there. And I figure the more people that know about this channel, you know, the more people we can get involved, and, you know, the more questions that could get answered, and, you know, the more the better, right? Like, the more answers we can get, the better. So anyhow, I'm going to cut this off. Definitely leave some feedback for future channels. I do have like a little notepad with some ideas for the future. So you guys have a good night, and I will talk to you later. All right. Bye, guys.